Okay, let me see here. Made us pay for the beta. Not necessarily. You do know what you're getting into. I think people for the most part do know what they're getting into when you have to pay for a beta, because you're paying for the game. The beta is what they give you behind the paywall in order to understand the pretenses of what you're actually getting. They did this before with Destiny 2. Destiny 2 was the last time I went into something like this, where you pay for the beta, and it's not always going to be the same thing that's going to be on market value, which is what you buy. Considering that this is also the entry point into something new, and then what fighting games generally will change over the course of their lifespan to be something different than what was first advertised when it first came on the scene, but it still is within the confines of the end game vision that it seeks to create. It's just oh, someone said something interesting here about the rising version. Hang on. The main strange considering my figured out. It's not like rollback is something that just fits over everything like a glove. What it needs to function smoothly is going to be different from game to game. That's very true. Tokon sent the DDoS demons to Avatar. Buttery smooth on PC is not accurate from person to person. I have a literal 139K 4090 in my system. Oh, it must be the capture card. And I'm experiencing some slowdown in the training mode offline and sometimes online. Sometimes it'll be perfectly fine, then it'll drop frames out of nowhere. I understand about the money. I don't think I've seen a game run this bad. Oh, that was before the update to change this shit. The main reason the rising version of Grand Blue Fantasy Versus exists is because they couldn't implement rollback to the vanilla game, so they had to recode it from the start. Yes, I mean that explains why it literally plays the same as it should. It's the same. It's trying to do the same thing. It just has rollback integrated. That's good. $70 Canadian for the digital deluxe version on PS5, and I can't even use my stick or play against my friends on PC. I do feel really cheated having to pay for the beta. It's not a little lag. Everyone is skipping all over the place and teleporting. Yeah. When are they revealing Ozai? I see here in the avatars. That's likely going to be during base game. So while I anticipated that they would be here also for roster here, I'm not too disappointed. That's going to be coming in later, because while I wanted to try out Ozai just to see how he feels, I also understand that he's not really picked here, or isn't really thought of like a favorite pick, because people for the most part during this beta I think are only picking like the main picks, or like popular picks. So Aang would be a popular pick, Korra, Sokka would probably be a popular pick, Azula, Toph. I'd be lucky if I see probably Katara. Katara was a nice like mom to the group, but I don't think that she was a fan favorite in any means, unfortunately. Someone was asking how to turn on counter hit in training mode. I thought I could find it. That made sense, but I don't see it anywhere. It's a little embarrassing though. In 2026, 3 weeks before release, it's a paid beta. Yeah, it's incorrect. Nobody made you do anything. Technically, it's free if you don't want to pay for the game afterwards. Yeah. But again, just like what Demi Deva Queen here is talking about, every fighting game that came out was not perfect in launch state. Every game had some type of a journey to go through from launch state to end game state. Like DNF has had that journey throughout its whole life. Mortal Kombat 1 had that whole journey its whole life. MK11 had that journey its whole life, and is stabilized somehow after the fact, but nobody cares because it's not a moneymaker anymore. Injustice had that for the starting point of his life, and then evened out after Enchantress's patchwork. I imagine some of the Blaze Blue games. Guilty Gear for sure. Guilty Gear is a completely different game than when it first came out in every sense of the word. And launch of Strive was different from beta launch. The online, to this day, it was still something that has to be tweaked and has to be assessed appropriately, because online has so many changing variables of consistency from the net sometimes between NA and EU players, and just the kiosk system, because the kiosk system is just garbage. Like, it's supposed to be like a shining light to housing good matches in private room, and then it just ends up just being dog shit. That's a beta version. I'm not that surprised. I've seen enough betas to not have my hopes high and aware it doesn't reflect the final product. That's my dude right there. I don't really mind that the beta is accessible to pre-order recipients, because in the age of digital only mostly games, what's the point of pre-ordering if there's no other incentive? Progress made. What the? It's not bad, actually. Why are y'all defending it like it's not a paid beta? It seems you guys are coping and trying not to see the negative side. The fact is, it releases in 3 weeks from now should be concerning with so many problems. What other problems are there? Like, whatever it is, I'm going straight to death with the full release comes out to try and get it. Like, no, like, not shit. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It doesn't look good for how optimized the full game will be. The Xbox One was still new when the GPU came out. It was supposed to release yesterday before the delay, and they're having all these issues. I'm worried they can't fix them all in 3 weeks. I don't really mind the beta is accessible because of the in-age only. There's not a point. Most people hate early access for pre-ordering too. It's retarded. We need to buy a game before it's out, even if it's refundable. You can really tell who has never participated in a beta before. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, actually. So just let them cook. Some of them kind of inadvertently hang themselves, trying to make light of a situation you really can't. I thought it was the 5th. The beta does not end tomorrow. Amon losing his mind. Could be something if he's losing his mask or his face cover, like Obito. I could see it. You know, remember the DBFZ beta? Oh, yes, sir. I do remember that. Yes, sir. Fair. I like her voice. Yu Ushiwaka is the GOAT. It's still a scummy industry practice. The game is $30, bro. If you don't want it now that you tried the beta, refund it. It's that simple. However, I'm not saying that it's excusable that the game is in this state to close before release. Personally, I'd rather not to have to give them a $30 security deposit. Yeah, so again, I can actually kind of tell who hasn't been in a beta before. Like, hell, y'all didn't think about this when you were playing the KOF beta, or the City of the Wolves beta, or the shitty ass Nen Impact beta. Hell, I bet you half of them didn't even sit here and complain or whine and bitch for the 2XKO beta and the half-ass PC only shit. I thought they were testing connection stuff. The other incentive is the voting. That was the main incentive, by the way. That was among the main incentives, yes. One of the main incentives was mainly to do the voting aspect. I'm happy with the game on PC, very enjoyable. I just don't agree with the industry BS, but I'm saying this is the only way, that the only game that does it. It's okay to be concerned about the netcode issues. The game industry changes, whether we like it or not. I see a lot of clips on Twitter, so it's getting popular for sure. Betas are usually for testing all sorts of stuff, yeah, but they're inherently used as a part of advertising. The whole point of this beta was because the game got delayed. The intent is to reward people who already pre-ordered and planned on playing today, people who might have taken off work or whatever to play today. Compensation. Plus, 2 hours of beta does not account for the 2-hour limit for refunding games. If you don't like it, you can refund it up to 14 days after the game comes out, and if you played less than 2 hours of the official release, at least on Steam. We are giving them a security deposit to test their game so they don't have to pay for Q&A. That's not true, so give them the security deposit. The game is definitely good. You know what, this is a lot of dumb shit. I gotta keep looking in order to see what happens here, because there's a handful of people here that are just divided on whatever they want to do versus whatever they were going to do anyways. Most devs will tell you they're never 100% finished with a game by the time they release, so this beta is still important for testing stability. Absolutely. Look, I'm gonna play the game either way when it releases, even if it's a little janky. So I was gonna buy this game anyways. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know about the voting or the beta when I pre-ordered it the other day. It was a nice surprise for me. I just pre-ordered because I was gonna get it on release anyway, so I figured why not. The human minds are exploitable by business. Usually there are regulations and guidelines, but gaming is pretty lacking in that department. China has a lot more laws and restrictions in the digital realm, so generally they don't have to do it the same shit other countries deal with. That being said, again, the game is not in the most optimal state right now, and I understand why people are disappointed. Who do you think is the best character and the worst character? That's a rather subjective opinion, because who could be the best character and the worst character would just vary on what characters are like easily attainable, or you can grasp with their game plan on what they want to do really quick or quicker than the other parts of the cast. There probably is one of the characters on roster right now that's probably looking like a hard character right now at face value, but is actually probably an easier character the more you get to play with them, but you have to actually sit and apply more work to them in order to give them something to deal with. I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the avatars that probably have to put in more work. But I also don't want like people that just appear out of nowhere to just, well, he didn't really appear out of nowhere, but just appear in order to want to know who's the best character and the worst character. That way you kind of form a bandwagoning opinion around that take, which is why I say it's subjective. To just how's your own opinion on what's the most accessible. If I had to guess, with a game that has like decently good inputs with an engine like this, whatever it is that's the most accessible to understand the game plan for is probably a very good character. Motherfuckers are just addicted to bitching. Yeah. Yeah. God forbid the beta used to test for bugs and network issues be riddled with bugs and network issues. Can't say it's been 2 days the beta started, and it feels like the worst one is Zuko, but maybe it's just because I suck and I don't know how to do bigger combos. Crazy work. It's just crazy. I like this guy. Olifant. Personally, opinion, not fact. I think the pre-order is absolutely worth it, at least on Steam, because playing the beta is zero risk against a refund. And if you have 2 weeks after the official release and 2 hours of gameplay to try it out on official release before, you can't refund it. So I don't really see an issue in pre-ordering. Trying the beta, trying the full game, and getting a refund if you don't like it. It's a good take. It's a good opinion, but bad opinion. Just commit. You act like you act like you're afraid to commit to shit. The test is a test bullshit. China gaming market is a nightmare as well. To be frank, there's a large majority of games over there that are live service gacha. I think Japan's been doing the gacha system too. So, I mean, they found a way in order to try and break even. I feel like Toph is definitely up there. People were saying Katara was crazy good last beta. People will act like this is the state of the game is going to be how it comes out and hold it to that standard. This right here, I 120% agree with this take. That same type of bullshit is because of how the first impression was in a beta state is how you will perceive the game for the rest of its time to that standard. DNF Duel and Power Rangers are two openly known IPs in the FGC market where this statement is 120% true, because that game is so much better than where it is now. But people will whine and bitch about what it was forever and a day because they hold it to that same standard of dissatisfaction from years ago, when years later it has been vastly better and improved on the shadow of its former self. And I hate that shit. I hate that that's true. That's a really, really good point. It's probably the same issue I'm having. People acting like the state again. They have 20 days. Good luck. I definitely still could. Let's be real. I just don't personally think that's a big deal. That is kind of a big deal because it shapes the image for people having a general supposition of what is or what was versus what is. I don't really care about bugs, but I feel bad for people who have PlayStations. The PlayStation beta is pretty awful. It took me a bit in order to get into it. So, oh, that was the answer to her. Nah, the game won't come out like this, and 'tis a huge deal. PS5 is unplayable. My day is ruined, and my disappointment is immeasurable. Well, there's one. It's a weird hypocrisy. People will complain at the game released in this state, but people are now complaining about the beta having issues because reasons. It is not okay to complain that PS5 isn't playable. That's not what the point is. Sirke. It definitely is valid to complain, but to act like these things won't be fixed on launch is the issue. Found the source material for Amon's render. Huh. Okay, that's different. Because it's unreasonable to really believe they can fix something that serious in over 20 days. The complaints about the beta are valid still, though. Most of them are just regular feedback. Absolutely. You're not a game dev, but the problem is that people don't understand what the fuck a beta is. Like, it's a beta. No shit, Sherlock. I'm gonna say this again. The game releases in 20 days. Unless this beta build has entirely different code than the full version, then it is very likely we'll get a similar state on release. Thank you, Mel. No, you don't. Frankly, I'm just surprised they didn't originally plan a date to do testing before launch. I'm very glad they did it this way. A key point is that these builds might be older. Developers usually have multiple builds of a game for various purposes. Oftentimes, beta builds are chosen in advance and prepped on their own, and not to interfere too much with other developments. That's a constructive take. There's like a certain patch of the game before another one comes out. So yeah, this is probably like a certain build for the game, which is why there's only 7 people that are accessible for the beta, as opposed to 12, opposed to the 12 people that are on roster. But that's good. It's just good prep time in order to give an idea on what how it plays right now, and then the other build is probably the full game. That the build is what that's what's going to be ran on the main engine. Sony is secretly evil. I doubt they delay it again, but if the issues were to arise again, I'm sure they'd have something planned for that thanks to the shit that went down by this beta. I'm just being realistic. That's how I can tell you played a decent amount of launch fighting games. Yeah, I doubt they delay it again. I hope so too, but 20 days is not a lot of time for a dev team to address these issues, especially on the size of avatarlegends' team. Disagree respectfully. Like, it's a good point, but I disagree with most of that, because with it being a small roster, that gives you a good chunk of time to actually have a lot of answers for a couple of things in the background, because you're not looking at roster at that point. You're looking at just smoothness and stability of the net play, or bugs and shit. I've never seen this, but I mainly play fighting games, so I'm guessing you're talking for other games. Yeah. No. No, he doesn't. During the 2XKO beta, people complained and Riot announced it was an old build, but when it launched, most of the issues were still there. However, 2XKO is free, so props to Riot for feeling obligated to tell the public. Sure. I definitely would not be welcome too much in here after a while. That was the case. Honestly, at this point, everything is speculation. We have no idea what the problem is. If they know how to fix it and how long that fix will take, it could be 2 hours, 2 weeks, or seriously enough for a delay. Really no point in arguing right now. I don't know, I'm not on console either. Then what the hell are you arguing about, guy? It's a variety of things. Some of the PC players have experienced too, but I think it's likely just build dependent. PS5 is super laggy every match regardless of ping. The big studio devs using the word beta as an alternative to demo has done major damage. Well, demo and beta can be a couple of different things, because a demo would be free. A beta is not always free. That's one of the key things right there. I do agree with you. It is a problem, and I hope the developers are on top of it. The only thing that keeps me going is that these builds might be older in general, but there are certainly examples for other games where that hasn't been the case, or where that hasn't helped much. Only time will tell with this one. I remember the older beta weekends in Guild Wars 2. I did not play Guild Wars 2, so I can't really comment on that one. I'm sticking to this game for a while. City of the Wolves is probably still going to be my main fighter, but I really like this game. Even with the issues I've had, I want to learn more. I want to see the combo trials and actually learn how to do some decent damage. I've been psyched for this game for months, so I'm not saying any of this from a place of hate. I genuinely hope the devs can get their issues figured out and deliver a great experience. However, I've played enough betas and then seen the releases thereafter to know that it's going to take longer than the release date to fix this. I will actually tell them. Unfortunately, in a few hours, people will be coming home from schoolwork to complain about this all over again. Oh, hang on. This one has something, always has something good to say. It may be worth just saying in a general sense, if the perspective of a game not running right at launch bothers you, you should not plan to play at launch. While it is obviously shitty that the industry has normalized releasing stuff before it's ready and fixing it post-launch, acting surprised and outraged when that happens is on you. It's not some unpredictable thing. You can and should manage your own expectations. Thank you. That's exactly how the mindset for a beta should be to some degree. That way you're not sitting here having high-ass expectations when you should go in expecting exactly what it is. If you get more than what you bargained for, then that's a different subject to go into. That's a different level of expectation and appreciation at that point, which I think is fine to have, if you have that. True to an extent. Whatever. I genuinely am sticking. Yeah, same. 2SKO had some wrinkles on console and took a few months to sort them out, as I recall. Yeah. Same thing with almost every French break game. I suck at tag fighters, not gonna lie, but I had heard that too, bro. I generally showed up after a fighting game release like a vulture, but I heard that Uni 2 had a rough start for sure. Cheap game gets cheaper after a year or two is all. Uni 2 also releasing the same week as Tekken 8 was also like cosmically horrible timing. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. My love for Avatar and fighting games is great enough that they're periodically adding fighters and updating the game. I will keep coming back and getting my money's worth over time. I'm not in it for the short term, but the long haul is my mentality when I buy any fighting game. That's the mentality you want to go for, is to be there for the long haul. That way you have a multitude of games to kind of rotate between. I get you. I have felt deflated by the state of these builds, especially on console. This is the first major Avatar release that actually has some good staying power. I just really hope they can stick the landing. There's two of us. Not that it means I will be playing it constantly, but it's just that I'm happy my spread to time with it put over the months or even years. But I guess I'm like that in general with a lot of things. Can do the worm. I feel that Sokka isn't really a gorilla because a bad Sokka player isn't going to do the things that make him scary. Toph is the ape of this game. I think Toph or Sokka are probably like respectable AP characters. ArcSys games tend to have early issues as well. I remember early Strive where replays would be a completely different match than what you clicked. Oh yeah. Damn, that was a long time ago. I would have waited for this game too if my boyfriend didn't ended up handing me a copy so I could play with him day one. Just means that this is the only thing people can see to my knowledge. Wonder what this game's wiki game belongs to. For Dustloop is for ArcSys games. Mizumi just seems to be there for FPAN and some other less popular anime fighters. And Super Combo games seems to be there for Capcom. That's a good question. What wiki would this game even go to? Because Bandai, I don't think has one. Dustloop has ArcSys. So it would have to be like its own wiki or some sort. Maybe it's the character then I choose. Super Combo is where we've landed so far. I get you. I feel like the state of these bills. I agree, but with how fickle the FGC tends to be, and especially with all the people that are saying dumb lines like, looks like a Flash game, or I'm quite concerned with how much staying power there will be. But hey, like I said, I play City of the Wolves, and there's like 500 people max on Steam on that game at any one time. So even if it thins out, I'll be playing it for a while. It's kind of a whoever gets to it first situation with a lot of game wikis. Oh, you see, I didn't know that. Dustloop is strict about it being for ArcSys stuff. To be fair, the other half of the FGC is screaming about how you get hand-drawn animations, split-second loading times, and fun characters for $30. Because a lesser-seen company and a non-AAA company can get the fun concept for a fighting game correct, politically and statistically correct, more often than a AAA game that has to do all this either on a budget or on a time schedule. So, you know, fuck them. They very Strive was just generally fucked. Tokon and Grand Blue was fine. It's probably going to be Mizumi. I bounced off Strive because of 2.0 myself. Wasn't a bad update to me. They just hit Asuka in such a way that made him feel unfun to play. And with how they handle mono regen, actually, never mind, there's already a Super Combo wiki. But I wouldn't be surprised if they make a Mizumi and that one gets used more. I love Avatar, always have, and recently have been getting into fighting games a lot more, so I was always gonna play the hell out of this game. I just wish I was good enough to figure it out and do these 30 plus combos like a hit online. You'll figure it out. But some of them honestly just need to just have an int. Another good take I just noticed here. One thing I've learned about the FGC, some of them can't be honest about just not having an interest in a game. They have to invent a reason not to play for whatever reason. That's what I'm saying. And that's a really good take from other games and other betas. Well, other betas and other game communities, because people have to invent a reason why you don't like it. When you can just say you don't have an interest in that game. You will play it, but you don't necessarily have an interest in it. Which this is fair. What annoys me at the end of the day is that the game has gotten more and more players curious about it over time. This was one of those moments where the game really had the spotlight on it and people in general felt good about it. Because of these unfortunate issues, especially on console, the stakes will now be much higher, and it would not surprise me at all if some players now won't take a look at the game on launch or be really weary of it going in, and rightfully so if you are a console player, especially on PlayStation. Also, I feel that anybody saying that this game looks like a Flash game can't have blown in from any older fighting game. No. Because older fighting games don't have this type of smoothness. Tokon is going to be interesting. It's going to draw a lot of people in for what it is, but you have to keep track of tag fighter stuff. People will play it. Yeah. Tokon is anti-tag. My opinion is still subject to change. I like tag fighters, but yearned for a true 1v1 fighter without extra mechanics. That's exactly the game I was thinking of, was Mortal Kombat 1, because it literally could have just been a one-on-one game, but it has to be a cameo system and put some extra ass mechanic in there in order to have a tag ideology when it's just an imitation tag fighting game. It could have just been a one-on-one. It scratched the itch for a minute, and then it didn't scratch the itch after a while. $2D like the show was the only choice. This game would not work in 3D. Now a handful of them are just talking out of their ass. Game's budget went into net code for real. Even 200 ping games feel like 0. Hey, now right here, now they're talking about the net play update here, or not the net play, the net code update. So this is good. Drama queens. Facts. Wait, they're sitting here talking about graphics? Like, I guarantee you, whatever type of graphics card this game is using, they could have gone with the crappiest art style choice, and this game was still sold like Hot Pockets, literally because of the IP. Like, Legend of Avatar and Legend of Korra and the Avatar both are like some of the more influential cartoon shows next to, well, it's one of the more influential cartoon shows of this generation and last generation mainly, because a handful of us really grew up watching that cartoon. Whenever they showed that stuff, I didn't get a chance to really watch it like that on Nickelodeon. I was more like an anime watcher with watching cartoons too. I didn't get a chance to watch this cartoon until probably way later on in my high school years, when I got a chance to actually stop and appreciate it and take it all in. But for a game that goes back that far, and they've had other Legend of Avatar games since then. They've had other Avatar games since then. It's just this is the first fighting game, and all of them never really worried about the frame rate, or worried about the visual presentation. Is worried about quality of life in terms of replayability and going back to playing the basics of the game. For me, the Legend of Korra, the PS3 game, was one of the best Avatar games I've ever played in my whole life. I really wish they remastered that shit for PS5. I would pick it up in a heartbeat. Interesting.
Why would you press 5A?
saw you just pull out a portal there. Oh! You got a double? What? That's crazy!
Oh, that shit is crazy. Oh, that is actually kind of godlike. It's not every day you see Toph mirrors. That's actually pretty kooky. I actually can't wait to see what this shit looks like later on down the line. Ran into a funny bug where all the chakras were randomly locked symbols. You could still use them, just not see how many you had. Oh yeah, the chakra lock. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay, so this lag is genuinely terrible. I thought it was crazy. Stuff. A lot of the moves that are animated in game are based on attacks they perform in the show. So I was asking if all of them are. The one that stood out the most to me is Fire Lord mode Azula. Does Dio's walk from Heritage for the future? There's tons more too. Oh, I think I remember seeing that in the trailer or something like that for Azula's Fire Lord mode. Anyone know if when you're in past characters will be released at once or in phases? Probably one by one if I really had to guess. Yeah, one at a time is pretty much guaranteed. Typically, the way these DLCs work in fighting games, they start planning all characters at the same time, but focus the bulk of staff into one at a time. So as they finish each character they release, and the bigger team moves to join the smaller team that's been working on the next character. Wait. The way this works is that they plan on all characters, but the bulk of the staff into one at the time. The bulk of the staff is focusing one at a time. So as they finish the characters, they release, and then the bigger team moves to join the smaller team that's been working on the next character. Okay. I had to rethink that sentence. So, say the order is Iroh, Tylin, Bolin. There will be people working on all of them, but the bulk will be working on Iroh. Then when they finish, they join the Ty Lee group, etc., etc. Alright, screw this game. I'm going to come back when I can have some combo trials and full release because I had no fucking clue how to do a decent combo. I'm going to skip that because that's just, I'm not going to lie, that is actually a skill issue. I'm not going to hold you. Because there are some times where you can just put 2 and 2 together in order to just have a decent idea of what to do. You don't have to really overthink it. Number 1 Amon account. Okay, buddy. Bro, I don't need that shit. Like, Amon will grab you. Oh yeah, so Amon is so there's a handful of Amon praisers that look like they probably came in here in the chat. They came from the Equalists. I see this. This feels viable for an Amon's outro. Fought an Aang player finally. Was he a pussy or did he just say fuck it, we ball? So I take it that Aang is probably like the least played character in this general assessment. I don't think bloodbending will be a primary gimmick for Amon. I'm not sure how you could implement it in a fun way as a main character, as a main mechanic for a character. Kuvira has the coolest fight scenes in the show. This is also why I want Kuvira. I'm only choosing Amon for the bloodbending. Well, that kind of goes into my back pocket for the DLC picks, right? Because they have to have the fighting style that's akin to the show, or at least to the layout of the fighting styles that they're taking inspiration from, be it your Tai Chi or I guess praying mantis style and various different things. So however that the fighting style translates into the fighting game is where it becomes a point of interest in how well it translates. If it translates well, then the character can come out with a very beautiful presentation. Sami is never making it. Game needs Korra rep bad. I imagine season 2 will mostly be the characters who lose the vote, so there will be lots of Korra. Oh yeah, in terms of people from Korra's generation. How it feels to beat your opponent some matches and he decides to change to Toph. Shit. He doesn't need the moon. Moon Ant will make him powerful. And you Loki cook his ass. Pre-order for Switch. Happy to announce this thing that will make it better for PS5. Vic tweeted out that a patch is being worked on. I hope I do not want Mako in the game at all. Bolin level 7 leaked. Yeah, I meant Mako. I want Mako dead. Bolin the GOAT. I'm happy that we got Bolin instead of Mako. Real talk, Mako was the more boring of the two. Bolin had potential, and they gave him the potential here in Avatar Legends. Top players are fair and honest. Okay. It is crazy. Wait, that's the sisters? Wait, Tylin, Tylot, Tylao, Tyliu, Tylum, and Taiwu. Well, damn. I mean, I guess that's one way to have to be one to say. No wonder Ty Lee was like felt like the odd one out. I knew she was one of several sisters. I just didn't know that they all looked alike. I hope they all don't look alike. 'Cause I was like, Jesus Christ. Nice. You are an idiot, I believe it. This isn't right. Isn't the Avatar live? I thought. I can't remember. I'm so proud of you. Are yes, daughters. My favorite comic. That is a good comic. I love Korra. I don't know why some people don't like it. I love Korra as a series, but even on my recent rewatch, there were some pain points. Season 2 especially, but Season 4 also suffers a bit because of getting screwed over. And Season 1, Episode 5. In what way is Korra specifically stronger? High damage, she has a DP, that's the only thing I know of. They can act like zoners, but do not try to treat them as pure zoners. They have other tools, so use them. Oh, we got to fight Diaphone. Damn, I would like to see that. Once I saw they added Kyoshi's dust stepping, I knew they were attaining to true to the characters. That's when I knew I would main Kyoshi. The Kyoshi of the novels who dropped Zhu Wunping on his ass is the character I want to play. It's alright, I have a bunny. Bro. Okay, buddy, we're sitting here sharing pictures of bunnies and you're sitting here worried about bunny stew. Like, bro, where's all this fuckery?
Hey! What? What?
Then die. What do we do, argue with you? I'm not on the debate team. This isn't mock trial.
Okay, so this came up in the middle of some other shit going on in the Avatar scene. So the difference is, in every other fighting game genre, you can learn the game by playing the actual game with friends. Even imagine that, not sitting alone in the lab for dozens of hours to commit combos to muscle memory so that you have even the slightest chance of not instantly losing. Fighting games are harder to get into because you get smoked day one, but also I don't want to hit the lab so I don't get smoked. So this came in the middle of the execution premise of how the Avatar fighting game plays, which was kind of like out of pocket because of like the combo system being somewhat different here. And then it brought up a knee-jerk reaction, let's say, of other games where at the beginning of the practices, they weren't necessarily easy to learn. There was depth at the beginning, which last I checked, I thought that was a good thing. So watching people genuinely agree with this in the replies is beyond me, because this is applying to literally every game that exists. But niggas will act like fighting games are impossible when the reality is most of you are just too lazy to learn. The difference is, in every other genre, you can learn the game by playing. Oh, yeah. I hate to be Mr. Scrub quote, but I think a relevant factor in why people bounce off fighting games is because you boot up an unranked online match in a game's beta or day one, and people already are doing this to you. Watching people genuinely agree with the replies in this section is beyond me. Are impossible in reality. Most of you are just too lazy to learn. I got cooked on here, and this guy who's been in the lab for the whole first week cooked me. Yeah, okay. Want to ask him for tips or ask him to give pointers? When did niggas get too nonchalant to connect with the community and ask for help? I agree with Zombie Dizzy's take. I agree with that 100%. It's called being sociable. It's not a difficult practice to have. It's a part of how you become an actual better human being, actually. Can't pin replies on here, so this is my last comment on the matter. There are 5 minutes, countless YouTube tutorials out there that exist solely to teach you to not get cooked by that same guy that you're complaining about. If you're getting cooked by the same combo over and over, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's your fault. Okay, skill issue for the win. People just don't want to put in that much effort and go through that friction to enjoy what time they have. That's it. It is okay. It's not the fault of the genre, nor it is invalid to feel unwelcome by it. And this is all most people had to say, because this is true. My tweet was about people who demand that the genre change specifically for them. I have no problem with people who are just okay with being casuals, but I could have worded the initial tweet better. No, actually, I think you worded it okay, because the thing there is that there's living tutorials that are out there for people at the beginning level of shit to understand how to better adjust and adapt to what they want to play and learn without there being any type of systemic issue to the point where the game has to change for casuals, when casuals, granted, yes, are the lifeblood of most games. It's not the practicing point of competition. That's why there's a competitor and a casual. The two are different. The two can be catered to by the same people, but not in the same way. That's why if there's someone that's basically a casual whining and bitching about shit that they refuse to lab because you want the game to be easier because you don't want to lab, that is still a skill issue because you don't want to learn. You just want the game to cater to your dumbass. I say honestly, for Dizzy's sake here, don't season your words. No, he said exactly what they needed to say. For real, when it's Valorant or Marvel Rivals and they get absolutely demolished, it's just a random smirk. But when it's a fighting game, it's, oh, the game's not for me, or the whole genre is not for me. That's what it could be, honestly, but no one wants to take accountability for your self-worth and interests. Okay, so to wrap up my general thoughts so far, and I'll also post about this somewhat on Twitter. So, I feel Azula and Zuko are both lore accurate. Katara, I believe, has very strong potential, but I see work that probably goes into playing her. Sokka is, honestly, I think the joke of him being a backbender, I think, is really just a thing, because Sokka has a lot of pretty animalistic pick to him, and it's understandable that they would make him like a very likable pick for the way that he plays, because he's like a memey guy in the show, so it makes sense that he would also be kind of like a memey character. But literally, Toph is the best 8 bender, because honestly, she just allows you to just be like a whole little chimp, in my opinion. Zuko is a very designated and intentional sleeper pick. A lot of people, I think, would like Zuko, and the way that Zuko plays, he rewards a lot of consistency. Aang genuinely feels like he has a bit of a ceiling to him, and I like that he is the execution character. This whole thing I've seen so far, I've only seen one Aang player, and I haven't had a chance to actually fight him. He just dipped in the middle of the set, like right when he started losing. But in some places, with the way that I've been trying to lab him, I can see the contest of why Aang feels unplayable against the other characters' range, but is slow compared to them, has mobility, despite, I guess, having maybe low health to compensate for that, and is very flow state, but he's a really good flow state character. The flip side to that, in my opinion, is that he does a crap ton of damage, has crazy air mobility, consistent air mobility, and mix-up potential off of a lot of his mobility. He literally, the way that he does mix off of his mobility is very reminiscent of, what's the dude from Grand Blue? I can't think of his name. The elf guy that flies around, Grimnir, I think was his name. But the elf dude like that, where you can get mix off of, like how he gets mix off of his sigils in order to go in with wind. That's the same premise I get from watching Aang, and a little bit I labbed him. Once I saw a TikTok that where Aang was playing and doing 540 damage off an overhead. I think the problem and why a lot of people don't pick him, or he has a low or the lowest pick rate right now in the beta, is because he's just a harder character that has execution to him, which good on him. If I had anything to say about the game right now, I feel design-wise, I feel there should be better anti-airs, if I have to guess. Not focusing to buff air throw, and to let normals that already anti-air resume those properties. But a better way of dealing with anti-air, like when you get punished for punishing the player, why are we creating scramble situations to force chimpanzee decisions? Like, air to air can be contested as an anti-air OS at times too, but then it comes down to who mashes faster for it, and it defeats the purpose in trying to reset neutral. I feel like in that case, or in that think tank, it feels like a design decision. Like Melty Blood characteristically doesn't have strong anti-air specials despite being able to block in the air. Whereas a similar context where you have strong anti-air specials and not being able to block in the air at all is DNF Duel. So I feel like you're incentivized to air with normals. Avatar lacking the air block definitely pushes the creativity range of answering this in DNF Duel's area of expertise. So I feel like for those that have played either Under Night, Central Fiction, DNF obviously, or Melty Blood, I think that there are characters here for you. Based off of these 7, I can get the idea also including the other 5 remaining that they didn't show, since Kyoshi and Zahir and Ozai, Avatar State Korra, Avatar State Aang weren't here for the beta. I think there's a character here for everybody. I think we all can be generally content coming into this. That's my thoughts. Alright, so let me conclude here. So, in some instances here, and this is my wrap up on the Avatar Legends thing, because I also want to get back to playing the Avatar Legends beta myself, but I also want to have an in-depth and in-tune thought and thinking to how I'm looking at here, because the beta is going to close tonight. So people are creating false pretenses to want to cop out of the game based on the early premise or jumping to conclusions, let's say. Some people have to invent a reason to not play to validate wanting to hate the game or have excuses not to be on the game at this stage as it stands right now. And then I see another notable figure out there among other people that are probably slowly budding, depending upon, again, the practicing of casual and competitor, that have issues of claiming that the combo system is complex or has complexity to it, which, okay, I for one am thankful for. That means there's layers to it. There's layers to the combo system, right? What I'm talking about or describing is a pattern that shows up very often in a lot of new competitive games and new fighting games. Every time there's a beta that comes around, there's these types of things that come in, or these elements that come in, especially those that are attached to well-known IPs, like Avatar. It isn't necessarily a sign that the game is bad. It's more a sign that the community is entering the expectation-setting phase before launch, which means there's a lot of people that are probably going to be disappointed as shit. And and that's just sad. You're setting your expectations too high. Just expect a great game. That's all you got to do. People come in here from all over, from King of Fighters to Tekken to Uni 2 to Them's Fighting Herds, Dragon Ball Fighters, Central Fiction, BB Tag, Street Fighter, Guilty Gear. There's a lot of dynamics that are happening all at once here, right? For one, people are trying to protect their identity and the investment. Players who already have their game often subconsciously just look for reasons why the new game doesn't deserve attention. Instead of trying to say, I'm not really interested, they may instead say, the mechanics are trash. It's already failed. This game is dead. This game's net play is trash. This game's rollback is just garbage integration. Having concrete criticism feels more justified than simply admitting that it isn't for you. Next is first impressions becoming anchor points. This is a well-studied psychological effect that is called anchoring. Because if the beta has limited content, which I expect, balancing problems, obviously, poor online every once in a while, or rough visuals, not the case here, but for some players mentally lock in that version in as the real game. Even if it's 6 months later, 10 months later, a whole year later, balance improves, netcode improves, the systems deepen, The continuity of the game deepens, the roster broadens to where it's a whole other landscape of investment to the video game. They continue evaluating every damn update through that original impression. And you see this happen time immemorial with every damn fighting game. That's why I brought back up the Power Rangers and the DNF once upon a time in a couple of past talks, because DNF is a case in point where their whole community and other existential anime community scenes hold that IP by the balls every day since it died in 2022. Every single day it's held by the balls by its original standard from a time before, and not for what it is now. Everybody who's never played that game literally holds it to the same fucking standard instead of to everyone else. And it's that biased shit that kills general inclusive perspective on a game and better conversation. Next point is confirmation bias. Once someone decides, okay, this game isn't good, then they'll naturally notice evidence supporting that conclusion. Like if matchmaking breaks, then they say, okay, see? Or if a character is overpowered, I told you. Or if a patch fixes things, it's like, okay, that's too late now. Or if the conclusion comes first. The conclusion just generally comes first, then the evidence follows that kind of dismisses your conclusion. Then there's social validation, right? Social validation. In online communities, criticism often yearns more engagement than cautious optimism. People receive attention for doom posting, memes, or hot takes, or this game is cooked. Now this whole community is just cooked already, trying to come in here and trying to create an excess grill. Whereas saying, let's just wait until launch. Nobody here says that. The few people that look like they're fighting back or rebuttaling against like the normal flow of events here, those are the ones that are naturally rebuttaling. Where, okay, they're just waiting for launch before they have a general idea. Like, usually doesn't generate as much discussion. It doesn't generate that much discussion, which is why negativity becomes the socially rewarding avenue that people try to piggyback on more than just being honest. Just talk about what you like about the game and all that shit. That's what people really want to hear. They don't really want to hear the drama farming shit. And then next, some people genuinely just aren't the target audience. Like, even not everyone criticizing the game is in for not everyone criticizing the game is inventing reasons. Not everybody that's criticizing the game is trying to invent reasons. Some may genuinely actually just dislike simplified controls, or the mechanics, or the visual value and the style, or the pacing, or even the roster choices. Like, those are legitimate preferences that I understand why people may or may not like something. The distinction is whether someone is willing to update their opinion as the game evolves. That's the key thing and why you want to be open-minded. Then lastly, I feel is like a point of no return, right? Yeah, I guess you are spending half your day in there. Is the point of no return. One interesting phenomenon is that some players reach a point where changing their opinion would require admitting that they were wrong. Keep this in mind. So instead of just saying, actually launch improved a lot, they move the goalposts. Still not enough. Too little, too late. The game should have launched just like this. This lets them maintain consistency with their earlier ignorant stance. Like, if you're seeing widespread jumping to conclusions during the beta, it often means the community is beginning to split into a lot of different groups. Between, you got your doomers, you got the bad faith, you got your bad faith distractors, your doomers, your skeptics, your constructive critics, or your curious adopters. Like, every major competitive game attracts all of these groups before release, and then you'll also see them during the release. A caution here is it's also worth avoiding the mirror image of this pattern. Assuming that everyone criticizing the beta is inventing reasons to hate it can also overlook genuine feedback that developers should and need to hear. Like, healthy communities usually distinguish between these healthy patterns, between premature certainty, the game will never recover, and evidence-based criticism. The movement feels sluggish because ABC. The former helps a game improve. The latter often says more about the speaker's expectations than the game's actual trajectory. So if Avatar Legends beta here is generating both excitement and polarized reactions, that's not unusual. The more revealing signal will be what happens after full release, whether people revise their opinions in response to meaningful improvements, or whether many remain fixed on their initial impression regardless of how much the game changes and people around them enjoy it despite their lack of enjoying it. The short answer is you can't completely stop it. Like, you can only reduce its influence and create an environment where good faith discussion is more rewarding than bad faith narratives. If you're thinking from the perspective of a community organizer or someone trying to help Avatar Legends succeed, or a community like this, there are a few things that make a real difference. Like, you want to set expectations early. One of the biggest mistakes communities make is treating a beta like a finished product or treating it as if nothing will change. The healthier message that you want to think about, which people don't, is, okay, this is our first real look at the game. Let's identify what works, what doesn't, and watch how the developers respond. That frames the beta as a checkpoint instead of a verdict. Reward evidence over declarations. Some people should also ask, if the game is trash, why does it feel that way? People who have genuine concerns will usually have examples. People who are just looking to dismiss the game often won't move beyond broad statements. Over time, communities develop norms around this shit. If evidence-based discussion gets more attention than hot takes, the overall quality of conversations improves vastly. That's like what me and my circles do. We try to have general conversations about shit. That way we can be transparent. Try to separate I don't like it from it's objectively bad. Like, those are different statements. Encourage people to speak from personal experience instead of universal judgment in order to reduce unnecessary conflict. Can you ever stop it? Probably not, but you have to try. It's a part of the socializing aspect too, is to try to de-escalate up natural opinions that will conflict or be different because of different gaming experiences. Every major fighting game has gone through some version of this, where the game is too simple, or the game is already dead, or the developers don't know what they're doing, or nobody will play this in a year. Some of those predictions end up being correct, many don't. Communities are made up of people with different incentives. Some want the game to succeed, some want to be proven right. Some enjoy criticism more than playing. Some enjoy the game when there's money involved. Some people simply move on when something isn't for them. The goal isn't to eliminate negativity. The goal is to build a culture where curiosity, constructive feedback, and actual play carry more weight than premature certainty. Unironically, the strongest communities often aren't the ones with the least criticism, the ones where criticism is specific or honest and open to changing as the game evolves. That's generally a sign people are evaluating the game on what it is becoming, not just on what they assumed it would be or what it was. Damn. Oh, hey, yo. Test my luck, my goat. I am low-key excited for Tylee when she gets here. I'm gonna keep it a buck. So I'm definitely excited. All right, that covers my episode here. I'm going to go on ahead and get back to the beta while I can. You guys take care. You guys, any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below regarding Avatar Legends, your experience here with the beta, and what you expect on the main game when we get to the main game's end game, right? Peace until all are one.